CFAX Victoria,
an iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
C-FAX 1070.
Good morning. It's 6:30 on this Wednesday, April the 29th. It's going to be a sunny day with a few clouds, highs of 18 degrees. Could be a bit of fog, though, to start, depending on where you are around the greater Victoria region. We'll get you a full forecast in a moment, but right now, the news begins. And we say good morning to Lisa Best.
Good morning. Thank you. The Bank of Canada widely expected to keep its benchmark interest rate unchanged at 2.25%, but announces its latest decision later this morning.
The bank is grappling with a confluence of factors that have clouded the economic outlook. Heading into the year, many economists had predicted inflation would ease and a softer economy would keep the Bank of Canada on the sidelines while it waited for clarity on the U.S. trade front. But the outbreak of war in the Middle East has led to a surge in oil prices and upended inflation forecasts. Governor Tiff Macklem has said the bank will look through the initial spike in inflation driven by the oil price shock, but will also ensure those inflationary pressures don't become entrenched. Michelle Zedekian, The Canadian Press.
The federal government injecting $755 million into the sports system over the next 5 years, including $660 million more to the national sports organizations. It invests in athletes and grow youth participation in their sports. The Canadian Olympic and Paralympic committees have been lobbying for an increase for over 2 years. COC Chief Executive David Schumacher says athletes on the international and local stages will benefit from this funding boost.
There's a strategy in place now and funding behind it to take young Canadians from playground to podium.
Another goal of the funding is to reduce financial barriers to sports so more Canadians can participate. The Victoria Police Department providing more information about the decision to transition away from providing a dedicated traffic control for downtown protest. This after criticism from one protest group. In a statement, the force said it did not frame these demonstrations as religious terms, and the decision was rooted solely in members' wellness and operational realities. They engaged community representatives based on existing relationships and established lines of communication with partner groups. Vic PD say references to participation in commemorative events, including National Holocaust Memorial Day, are separate from operating policing decisions. Billionaire Elon Musk and AI executive Sam Altman expect to take the stand at a trial in California. Musk is suing Altman, saying he was tricked into investing OpenAI as a nonprofit. And when Musk says Altman intended to turn the country into a for-profit business. OpenAI did that last year, and it appears to be readying for a big IPO later this year. Musk left OpenAI back in 2018.
Musk is basically looking for OpenAI to reverse its decision, for it to go back to being a nonprofit with that original sort of founding ethos of developing AI for the good of humanity, and for that company to pay back all the profits it's made as a for-profit enterprise to the company's charity.
We're learning convicted killer Scott Peterson has lost another attempt at freedom as he claims he's still innocent. Peterson convicted over 20 years ago of killing his wife and their unborn child in California.
Despite previous setbacks from courts in August, Scott Peterson and the Los Angeles Innocence Project argued they had new evidence that would exonerate Peterson and show he did not murder his wife in 2002. They say new scientific evidence shows a jury relied on unreliable evidence to convict him so many years ago. But now their latest attempt to free Peterson has been shut down, a Superior Court judge declining a review of their claims of new evidence. The Los Angeles Innocence Project says it will appeal to a higher court and says such a filing is complex and often misunderstood by judges. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Health Canada's approval of a first generic version of Ozempic could help cash-strapped Canadians manage type 2 diabetes without breaking the bank. Ozempic can cost hundreds of dollars a month, but the new generic version could begin a downward price trend. Health Canada says it's still reviewing 8 other submissions from various companies. And EU officials say Meta is failing underage users.
The EU's executive branch accuses Meta of failing to stop underage users from accessing Facebook and Instagram in violation of the bloc's tough digital rules that require social media sites to protect minors, adding the group's platforms lacked effective measures to prevent children younger than 13 from signing up, and that it was not doing enough to identify and remove children after they had opened accounts. The EU says the problem's not just that children are getting access, Meta's also inadequately assessing the risk of children younger than 13 being exposed to age-inappropriate experiences. Brussels targeting Meta with the Digital Services Act, a sweeping set of regulations that requires tech companies to do more to clean up online platforms. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
That's your news to 6:35. Your C-FAX 1070 news poll question this morning, we're asking, do you conserve water? 49% say yes year-round, 31% seasonally, 20% apparently never do. You can vote now at cfax1070.com or in the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, your news time, 6:36.
Thanks, Lisa. 8 degrees right now in Victoria, heading towards a sunny, warm day. Full forecast in a moment. Right now, over to C-FAX 1070 Sports, and the Edmonton Oilers have managed to keep themselves alive and avoid elimination from the NHL playoffs for yet another game. We saw the Oilers with a 4-1 win over the visiting Anaheim Ducks. The Oilers still trail the series, but now it's just 3-2 in the first round. Edmonton captain Connor McDavid says it's still an uphill climb if they want to win the series.
Take a big effort, really, really big effort. We're still in a tough spot, really tough spot, and we got to find a way to win in a tough building, and thought we were right there in Game 4. Had a great opportunity in Game 6.
The Oilers will stare down elimination again in tomorrow's Game 6 back in Anaheim. Tonight, 3 games, including Montreal Canadiens facing the Tampa Bay Lightning with their first-round best-of-7 series tied up at 2 games apiece. Philadelphia Flyers will be playing against the Pittsburgh Penguins, Philadelphia leading 3-2, and the Vegas Golden Knights host the Utah Mammoth in the late game tonight, with that series also tied up at 2 games apiece. Toronto Blue Jays managed to get a win yesterday, and they'll be aiming to win their 3-game series today against the visiting Boston Red Sox. Lefty Eric Lauer will start on the hill for the Jays, who beat the Red Sox 3-0 last night after losing the opener 5-0. And the Red Sox will be countering with Brian Bayo. And Toronto Raptors will be aiming to grab a 3-2 lead in their NBA first-round playoff series tonight when they visit the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Raptors started off the series trailing 2-0 after playing in Cleveland. Then they came back to Toronto and managed to win both those games. So now we're heading into tonight's action with the best-of-7 series tied up at 2 games apiece. That is your C-FAX 1070 Sports. It's 6:39. By the way, the whole morning show brought to you by Bluebird Cabs. Need a cab? Download the new Bluebird Cabs app at Bluebird Cabs Ltd. They're proudly local and Canadian-owned and run since 1946. C-FAX 1070 traffic and weather. Starting to see the volume delays build up on the West Shore commute into Victoria. Let's take a look at, let's pick on this neighborhood. So if you're in the area of the Trans-Canada Highway and the West Shore Parkway, sort of that part of Langford, it's currently about a 30-minute drive into downtown Victoria, which means there's a bit of volume there, but it's really not too heavy. It's not a bad commute time at all. But we're still early. That's just where things are sitting right now. No crashes or accidents at this time. If you see a problem, please do text me at 71010. For the BC Ferries, there is a one-sail wait. 7 is full from Sports Bay to Sawasan. 8 is next. And the weather forecast looking great. We got a mix of sun and cloud today. Highs up to 18 degrees. A little cooler by the water where there will be a bit of breeze. Then for tonight, clear skies, lows down to 8. Tomorrow, another mix of sun and cloud with temperatures in the 20-degree range. Cooler by the Juan de Fuca Strait. Could be a bit breezy, particularly by afternoon. So a little wind building off the water there. Friday, clouds over, but it still stays warm, about an 18-degree high. Saturday and Sunday, mix of sun and cloud with temperatures into the 20 degrees, or maybe even a little warmer, except cooler by the water. Right now, for the temperatures around the region, if you are in, let's say, Shawnigan Lake. Where's Shawnigan Lake at? 5 degrees right now. At the University of Victoria in Saanich, it's 9 degrees. North American stock markets are seeing their opening bells just ring, so we'll take a look at how yesterday closed. We've got the S&P TSX down 233 points to 33,584. The Dow was down 25 to 49,141. That was at the close yesterday. Our barrel of oil currently at $104.63, so that's an escalation over yesterday.
Good Mother's Day gift right there.
Yeah. Here's a barrel of oil. It's the most valuable thing on the planet right now. And we're also watching to see what happens with the Bank of Canada. Any moment now expected to make its announcement, and they're expected to keep interest rates flat at 2.25%. So all those folks with variable rate mortgages or what have you, that's what's expected. We'll see what they announce coming up a little later this morning.
Ryan and Lisa are ready when you are.
Good morning.
Day or night, find the highlights under latest audio at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
It's loved by locals, and people travel from all over to do it. It's the iconic Juan de Fuca Trail right here on Vancouver Island, and the province yesterday confirmed a date for it to reopen after a fairly long closure. So the Juan de Fuca Trail, if you don't know, it's 47 kilometers. It's, just, you go a little past Souk, go around about Shirley, and you got China Beach there, so around about China Beach, all the way up to Botanical Beach, which is up by Port Renfrew. That's the whole stretch of coast that this trail goes through, and people backpack it and camp along the way. But there were some heavy storms, sort of the winter of 2024, 2025, that washed out a bunch of the trail, caused a bunch of damage, and closed it. And it's been closed ever since. So we lost the entire last year's season.
Yeah, we weren't happy about that one.
And there were concerns, would this year also be off? But no, the BC government has announced just yesterday that they do plan to reopen it. They don't have an exact date yet. It is mid-May they're expecting, but they say they will be confirming a date to come. But
to play devil's advocate, how did they know you were on it or not?
Well, actually, people were still doing it. Right. And recently it was in the news that some search and rescue folks were advising people, please don't do this. It's not open. Don't go.
Right.
But you're right. Like, if people just went on it, it's not like, anybody's there to stop you. There's nobody at like a ticket booth who's telling you no. But
Parks and Rec people out looking for you.
Yeah, it will officially be open, as in all of the bridges and different bits of infrastructure.
That was a problem with the winds, right? It was bringing down trees, and it just became too hazardous.
Winds and rain and all that
flooding,
stuff. Yeah, it washed out a bunch of the trails and a bunch of there's little bridges and things to cross over different streams. So yeah, it's great to get it back open. Have you ever done any of the Juan de Fuca Trail, Lisa?
No. Well, we said that earlier. Yeah. Like I should have. I've been to Botanical Beach.
Well,
and
that's
I've
part of
all
it.
around there, but that's just the start of it. I haven't done what you've done, parts of it. Now you shared some glory stories of some of the things you just happened upon.
Yeah.
Tell us again about the surfers. I want to hear this story.
Okay, so I'll just this was my favorite memory from this place, and I think it gives you an example of why it's a special place people like to go to. like I said, it's you hike it. It takes several days to hike it. So there's all these camping spots along the way, including one that's Sombrio Beach. I'm sure a lot of folks have heard of Sombrio. You can drive into it, so you don't have to hike it to get there. And that's what we did once. We drove in the summer, but it happened to be some strange weather conditions that were causing a lot of summertime waves.
Okay.
And I guess for surfing, usually we're kind of a winter surf place.
We like the waves.
We like the waves, but usually we don't get the big waves until the winter when you get a bit stormier off of the West Coast. But for whatever
tides, as it were, too.
For whatever reason, this year it all was working out, and surfers were coming from far and wide because the weather, I guess, forecast was suggesting waves for here in the summer. And so we showed up to have our little weekend camping trip on the beach of Sombrio, surrounded by all these surfers who'd come from far and wide. And I remember
name some countries. Do you remember?
Well, a lot of it was BC or like, I guess, far and wide in the province
West
and in
Coast
Canada.
too? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, people coming from the interior or Washington State or, places that would usually surf, but, couldn't usually do it in the summertime. But anyway, so I remember sitting on this beach with the fire. It's evening. The waves were out, so the surfers all rushed into the waves. And then behind them, as they're surfing, were the whales that showed up. So
Really?
there's this line of surfers and then whales and then Olympic mountains in the background, and the sun was setting, and it was just this magical moment. And I had to remind myself, I'm only an hour from Victoria right now.
But you must have that imprinted in your mind's eye,
totally,
too,
yeah.
because there's so many moments in this area that I really want to whip up my iPhone and take a photo, and I pause because I just think it's not going to do it justice. I might as well just
take it in.
Take it in, take the moment, seal that memory, that photographic memory away, and enjoy it. And so you gave me that visual there. I want to do it now. So you can do it as a day hike, right? Take portions of it.
Well, that's because all these spots along the
Take
way.
it in chunks, as it were.
And several of those spots were already open.
Okay.
But the trails will be reopening, and you can just do little bits of it. You could go to any of these access points, walk a little bit for the day and come back, or you could camp.
And that whole surf whale moment that you had, where was that?
That one was at Sombrio Beach.
At Sombrio.
No guarantee that'll happen every time. I don't want to oversell
you know what?
it.
It's a vision quest.
Yeah.
You're giving us some hope that you're going to see beautiful things regardless. I know this because hiking along the water here, there's never a shortage of things to see and experience, new finds. But now, where is the place where the beautiful waterfalls are? Is that?
Ooh, Sombrio also has some spectacular waterfalls. They're a little hidden. You got to find them, but that's part of the special magic of it. Is exploring and stumbling upon these things as you go. Texter at 71010 says, such good news for the coast. It's good news for the soul, says this texter.
Oh, it is. It is. Doctors were prescribing get out in the wilderness. Like they went even that far. When you're out in the trees, when you're out listening to the birds, when you're listening to the water running and the surf, it's just fantastic for you. That's why you feel so good afterwards.
Speaking of things that are good for the soul, this weekend is a fascinating performance by a local musical group. It's going to be at Christchurch Cathedral. It's also going into Sydney. Really interesting. There's music, but there's also a collaboration with the Rocky Point Bird Observatory.
Nice.
So I'm assuming there's some kind of nature going in here.
Okay.
But I don't quite get it yet. So I need them to explain Illuminaire Wings of Silence to me. So one of the people behind this is joining us on the show in just a few moments to talk about this cool musical experience heading our way this weekend. That's next. But first, I guess we should get the headlines.
Okay.
Over to Lisa. What's going on in the world?
The U.S. president reportedly preparing for an extended blockade of Iran. U.S. officials telling the Wall Street Journal that at a recent White House meeting, Trump opted to continue squeezing Iran's economy and oil exports by preventing shipping to and from its ports. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth in the U.S. will testify on Capitol Hill later today. Late Hollywood director Rob Reiner's son is due in court today in connection with the death of his parents. Nick Reiner will appear in an L.A. courtroom for a preliminary hearing where prosecutors will present evidence to determine whether he'll go to trial for the murder of Rob and his wife, Michelle. And Formula One drivers train their neck muscles intensely to withstand extreme forces while racing at high speeds. Experts say similar exercises and good posture can help us reduce tech neck from prolonged screen use. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You end up getting that hump on the back of your neck. Simple routines like chin tucks, planks, light resistant training can improve neck strength and prevent pain. Specialists add that strong neck and core muscles may also aid in injury prevention and recovery. First world problems we have here. That is your news to 6:50.
Did you watch the movie F1 with Brad Pitt?
I haven't yet.
Well, there's this a bunch of random scenes of him just doing exercises.
The neck thing?
That he's doing the neck exercises. They actually worked that into the movie.
But you get that from your phone when everyone's staring down at their phone all the time. I'm guilty as charged too. And so, there are exercises out there to do it. New World Order, right?
Well, we're going to take a quick break here. Traffic and weather coming up, and then we're going to learn more again about this musical performance being put on by the Caprico Vocal Ensemble, but also the Rocky Point Bird Observatory and the Emily Carr String Quartet. Lots to come as we explore this topic next.
From C-FAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island.
Design Victoria is April 30th to May 7th. Full schedule and ticket prices at designvictoria.ca. Sign up and support the Walk for Alzheimer's, Sunday, May 31st at Fisherman's Wharf. More info at walkforalzheimers.ca. Have an event you want featured on C-FAX 1070? Text us at 71010 to be featured.
Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe.
Join us this week to learn about an upcoming event promoting independence and safety in your home, being held Wednesday, April 22nd from 1:30 to 3:30. Guest speakers will be discussing how home safety solutions can help reduce risk, increase confidence, and support daily living. This is an event by the Victoria Seniors Business Network,
providing info on everything you needed to know about real estate. The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe, Saturdays at noon on C-FAX 1070.
C-FAX activity, traffic and weather. It is 6:52, and the commute is starting to build up on the West Shore commute into Victoria, but nothing too unusual yet, just sort of some volume delays forming. In a few minutes, we'll get that paving work back on Cook Street between Hillside and Bay, so watch out for obstructions there again. That's going to be a feature all this week, starting at 7 in the morning every day. And for the BC Ferries, one sail wait, 7 o'clock is full, 8 is next. And for the weather, mix of sun and clouds today. Highs of about 18 degrees, a little cooler by the Juan de Fuca Strait, where we're going to see a bit of breeze, so more like 14 degrees there. And then clear skies overnight with a low of 8 degrees. And we do it again tomorrow with another sunny day with a few clouds and highs up to maybe 20.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on C-FAX 1070.
Let's learn more about this interesting musical performance coming our way this weekend. The performance is called Illuminaire, Wings of Silence, where they'll be performing a piece of music called The Lost Birds. Here to talk about it and all of the connections that are going on here, I've got Adam Kahn. He is a UVic professor of music. He's also artistic director of the Capriccio Vocal Ensemble, who will be performing this on the weekend. Adam, hello. How are you?
Good morning.
Great to get you here. So I'm looking at this, and it sounds fascinating because you got the vocal ensemble, but you've also got the Emily Carr String Quartet, and then you've partnered with the Rocky Point Bird Observatory, and you're bringing this all together for performances, I think, in Sydney and at the Christchurch Cathedral in Victoria. Tell me what's happening. What is this all about?
Well, this is unusual. It's the BC premiere of this work. It's been around for a few years. It's by Christopher Tin, and it's a cinematic core work, an elegy for extinct birds. And I think now that we're dealing much more with climate change, the arts have the power to move us to action, and because each of us has a part to play in the stewardship of this land and all living things.
Okay, so there's sort of a message here as well as the music.
Yeah, I think music is coming together in our community to talk about things that matter. So we're collaborating with two panel discussion folks, having a panel discussion at 2 o'clock with Dr. Rick Cool from Royal Roads University and Anne Nightingale, and two people who specialize in sustainability and education, and we're going to have a conversation to tell the audience about what's happening in sustainability, especially locally here, Victoria and our peninsula and Vancouver Island. And the concert's at 3 o'clock on Saturday, May the 2nd, at Christchurch Cathedral downtown. And we're also partnering with the Arts Caliber Academy. Students from grades 6 and 7 will be providing some of the poetry readings during the concert, and their Birch class, grades 3 and 4, from their teacher, Mr. Christopher Bowen, have created beautiful artwork which are going to be displayed at the back of the church, because children's voices are also really important. And all the proceeds from that silent auction of that artwork are going directly towards the Swan Lake Nature Sanctuary.
So Christchurch Cathedral, May 2nd, which is this weekend, and the panel discussion is at 2, and then the performance at 3. And it's at the cathedral. I mean, that's also part of the magic of the whole thing, I'm imagining, kind of performing into a space like that.
Yes, the cathedral has been our partner for 36 years, and it's a really unusual place to perform. They've got this giant screen now there that makes it possible to watch organ concerts, and we've been able to utilize that to actually provide a multimedia experience, so that we're providing these pictures that were provided by the Rocky Point Bird Observatory of birds that are local here in BC, but especially Vancouver Island, that they've taken, and it's quite stunning. And up close, it makes you really appreciate what I think we're missing in a very busy life, and that take time to look at all these beautiful birds.
So you're going to hear the music, you're going to see the birds. It's a whole experience. And how do people go if they're interested? Like, what do you need to know to get tickets or show up? What are the details?
Yeah, they can just come to the cathedral. I mean, they can look at capriccio.ca online if they want to purchase them ahead of time, but they can also buy them at the door and just come anytime. Doors open at 1:30, and they can just come and enjoy the panel discussion and the show. Just purchase tickets at the door.
That's so cool. And this kind of like collaborative thing with the music, the birds, the message, are these things you're planning to do more of?
Yes. I mean, this is part of the Gail O'Riordan Climate Action and Arts Legacy Fund, and they're committed to projects that intersect art expression and environmental stewardship. So we're partnering with them for a 3-year engagement. We're going to have some newly composed works next spring, by a Canadian composer, and it's going to be great fun.
Well, Adam Jonathan Kahn, UVic Professor of Music, Artistic Director of the Capriccio Vocal Ensemble. They, along with others, will be doing this performance. Christchurch Cathedral, May 2nd at 3 o'clock. But of course, you said before that there's a panel discussion about conservation efforts here on Vancouver Island. It sounds like a cool day. Thank you for telling me about it here.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Yeah,
good morning.
No worries. Now, good luck with the show. We got to take a break. It's the 7 o'clock news is next on C-FAX 1070.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
C-FAX 1070.
Good morning. It's 7 o'clock on Wednesday, April the 29th. We are looking at a mostly sunny day. A few clouds possible, but sunshine for the most part with a high of 18 degrees. A full forecast coming your way in a moment, but right now the news begins. And here is Lisa Best.
Thank you, Ryan. Good morning. The federal Liberals unveiling billions in new spending to train more skilled workers. Their spring economic update yesterday also showed a lower than expected deficit due to surging oil prices, but it's a double-edged sword. CTV's Abigail Beeman breaks down some of the numbers for you.
The deficit for the last fiscal year is $67 billion. The government stressing that's $11.5 billion lower than projected in the budget. High oil prices a big part of the revenue. But after the short-term drop, for the next 5 years, the deficit stays very close to budget projections.
Everyone thought it would be impossible to outspend the reckless Justin Trudeau, but then this new Liberal Prime Minister came along and said, hold my champagne.
Overall, the spring update promises $37.5 billion in net new spending over 6 years. That jumps to $54.5 billion when you include other measures taken since the budget. The biggest line item?
Big measures for apprenticeships, making young Canadians as part of this.
$5.9 billion for what they call a Team Canada Strong program to recruit and train up to 100,000 skilled trades workers.
I think ordinary Canadians who are looking for pocketbook savings will be disappointed.
There is a commitment to lower how much people have to contribute to the Canada Pension Plan slightly.
The Liberal government had a big opportunity today to actually address the everyday emergency of the crisis of the cost of living for Canadians. It didn't do that.
There's no path to a balanced budget laid out over the next 5 years, with some economists disappointed that increased revenues aren't being used to further bring down the deficit. Green Party leader and Saanich and Gulf Islands MP Elizabeth May is disappointed. She knows why the deficit shrunk.
The efforts by the current government to, for instance, take credit for the fact that we went from a $78 billion deficit projection last fall to $65 billion this year. It isn't, in our view, good, prudent financial management by the Government of Canada that has reduced the deficit, but rather the reality that a November budget left very little time to spend all the money projected to be spent. So the budget now, the spring economic statement reduces what we expected as a deficit to $65 billion.
Elizabeth May once again pressing the federal government on the countrywide electricity grid, which was mentioned in the fall budget information. The Bank of Canada expected to keep its key benchmark interest rate unchanged at 2.25% this morning.
The bank is grappling with a confluence of factors that have clouded the economic outlook. Heading into the year, many economists had predicted inflation would ease and a softer economy would keep the Bank of Canada on the sidelines while it waited for clarity on the U.S. trade front. But the outbreak of war in the Middle East has led to a surge in oil prices and upended inflation forecasts. Governor Tiff Macklem has said the bank will look through the initial spike in inflation driven by the oil price shock, but will also ensure those inflationary pressures don't become entrenched. Michelle Zedekian, The Canadian Press.
And the numbers just in, the bank has held the benchmark interest rate steady at 2.25%. This is the fourth straight time it's done so. The new indictment from U.S. FBI Director, former U.S. FBI Director James Comey, a move the U.S. president has been demanding for years. The first Trump administration indictment of Comey was dismissed by a judge. This one stems from a year-old Instagram post that the Justice Department now claims was a threat to kill the president. Pierre Thomas has details.
Last fall, Comey was indicted on 2 felony counts. One charge of making a false statement to Congress and another for obstruction of justice of an investigating proceeding before Congress. Letitia James was also indicted within days of Comey last September, but both their cases were eventually thrown out. Apparently frustrated by the lack of prosecutions, President Trump fired Attorney General Pam Bondi earlier this month, announcing Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who was also his former criminal defense attorney, would take over DOJ in an acting capacity.
And if you like Casey Musgraves, well, she's heading back on the road this year. The Grammy-winning country star will kick off her Middle of the Nowhere tour in August 21st. That's in Chicago. She'll play more than 24 dates across North America. The tour wraps up with 2 shows on our coast in Seattle, October 26th and 27th. Fans can register for pre-sales that begin May 6th, with general on-sales set for May 8th, 2 days later. That's your news to 7:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll. We're asking, do you conserve water? It's in focus right now. 49% say yes year-round, 31% seasonally, and 20% apparently never do. You can vote at CFAX1070.com or the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, your news time, 7:06.
Thanks, Lisa. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday. We've got sunshine. We've got a high of 18 degrees expected. We're also going to be playing another clip of a famous mom on the show this morning. If you identify this TV mom, we will give you a $100 gift certificate to Steamship Bar and Grill, but only if you text us the right name, and only if we then pick your name out of the hat at 8 o'clock and call you. So wait for that, and wait for your next...
Will be a winner.
Yeah, wait for a chance to hear that famous mom, and text us at 71010. Right now, over to the C-FAX 1070 Sports, where the Edmonton Oilers have avoided elimination from the NHL's playoffs with a 4-1 win over the visiting Anaheim Ducks. Oilers still trailing the series, but now it's 3-2 in the first round. Edmonton raced to a 3-goal lead after the first period, then they managed to protect it. And Captain Connor McDavid says the effort yesterday bodes well for tomorrow's Game 6 in Anaheim.
It's obviously nice to play with the lead. Not chasing the game is a good thing. Holding them off and closing it out was solid.
McDavid himself had 2 assists in the home game. Leon Draisaitl scoring twice. Tonight, we've got the Montreal Canadiens facing the Tampa Bay Lightning with that first-round best-of-7 series tied up at 2 games apiece. The Philadelphia Flyers will have another chance to clinch their series when they host the Pittsburgh Penguins. Flyers leading 3-2. And the Vegas Golden Knights hosting the Utah Mammoth in the late game today, which will be which does feature that series tied up at 2 games apiece. Toronto Blue Jays back at it, aiming to win their 3-game series against the visiting Boston Red Sox. They managed to pull it off yesterday with a 3-0 win for the Jays after they lost the opener 5-0. We will see on the hill for the Jays lefty Eric Lauer. Toronto Raptors aiming to grab a 3-2 lead in their first-round NBA playoff series tonight when they visit the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Raptors, which trailed the best-of-7 series 2-0 after dropping the first 2 games in Cleveland, then went on to win the next 2 in Toronto. So Game 5 tonight is going back to Cleveland with the series tied up at 2 games apiece. And that's your Sports 2709. Hey, C-FAX Morning Show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Fresh, first of the season BC halibut now available at your favorite Thrifty Foods. We on the roads have a fairly typical looking day so far. No crashes, no accidents to report, but we do have that paving work back on Cook Street as of a few minutes ago. They started up again. It's between Bay and Hillside, and it'll cause delays and slowdowns there. Avoid it if you can. Cook between Bay and Hillside. And that'll be right until 7 o'clock tonight and will be a factor every day this week. We did have a one-sail wait at BC Ferries at 7, but that sailing has now sailed from Swartz Bay to Tsawwassen. 8 o'clock is next. Lots of room left there. And for the weather, it's a mix of sun and cloud today, although clearing more so as the day goes on. We will see a little breeze off the Wandafika Strait, making it feel a little cooler if you're near the water. Highs of 18 degrees, but cooler by the water. Mix of sun and cloud today. A mix of sun and cloud tomorrow. Highs of 20, cooler by the water. Clouding over a bit on Friday, but still warm. Temperatures up to about 18 degrees. And then the weekend is a mix of sun and cloud with temperatures around 20 degrees or better. So warming up even more so into the weekend and maybe even into next week as well. Monday, for example, high of 23 degrees could be what we're looking at. Let's get a look at the markets so far. How are things shaping up? Well, we're down across the board for the North American stock markets. S&P TSX down 157 to start the day, down to 33,427. The Dow Jones in New York down 256 to 48,885. The NASDAQ down 15 points to 24,648. That barrel of oil is escalating. It's up another $5.06 to $104.99 U.S. a barrel. And the Canadian dollar at 73 cents even. And by the way, the Bank of Canada did decide to hold its key interest rate steady at 2.25% in news that just broke a few moments ago.
The best way to start an island morning. Ryan and Lisa on CFAX 1070.
And thanks for being here this morning on the morning show with Ryan and Lisa. And Lisa, a few moments ago, we were learning about a cool concert that's coming up. They're going to do it at Christchurch Cathedral. That would be a cool place to see a vocal performance, because this thing called the Capriccio Vocal Ensemble is performing. But it's not just them. They got the Emily Carr String Quartet, and they got the Rocky Point Bird Observatory involved. As they were explaining, they're going to be showing images of birds, the local bird images taken by locals.
Yeah.
During the performance, because the whole performance is a piece of music called The Lost Birds, and the whole theme of the event is actually conservation and climate change and birds. So
focus on our environment. Yeah. He did say this was a debut for BC, did he not?
Yeah, new thing.
So it's not happened here. This is pretty cool.
So it's called Illuminaire Wings of Silence, and if you want to find out more, Capriccio Vocal Ensemble are the ones doing it, and it's this Saturday at the Christchurch Cathedral. 3 o'clock is when the music starts, but they got to talk before that. But anyways, all this talk about how the birds are a big feature in this got me thinking that maybe it's time for one of these.
Ryan and Lisa's Bird Break. CFAX 1070.
Yeah, it's time for the birds.
Yay.
So today, for the bird break, I would like to play a bird that I've been listening to in my backyard
really?
for a while. This isn't my recording, but this weekend.
Okay.
This weekend.
How intrepid. Okay.
Beautiful weekend, right? So my wife and I were just spending some time just sitting in the backyard enjoying the weather. And we kept hearing this bird that we identified through an app as the...
There's always an app for it.
As the Buick's wren. So maybe like me, you're hearing this sound a lot in your yard right now. And if you are, know that this sound is the Buick's wren. It's that little trilly thing there. That's the giveaway. So there you go.
So what's it look like?
It's a little tiny, like, little ball of bird.
Nothing, yeah.
Little tiny ball of bird.
Any distinguishing features to it?
It's kind of grayish brown. They really blend in. Like, you don't see them even so much. They do have this long, thin tail, which I guess is kind of a giveaway.
Okay.
And, yeah, but otherwise, they're just one of those little puffballs of a bird. Yeah, they're still going there.
So you're listening for the sound more than you're looking for the bird then?
Yeah, I definitely felt that way. But it's that little trilly noise there.
And what's it called again?
The Buick's Wren. It's native to North America. And, this is part of its territory.
Unlike the Ford Wren, it's actually running.
You don't.
Hey, I drive a Ford. Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It's today's bird break. The Buick's Wren.
I like it. Thank you.
As heard in my backyard.
In your backyard. We won't come visit, though, and sit there with our binoculars.
You could probably find it elsewhere.
Creeping on Ryan and his wife. Yes.
Yeah, that's not an invitation to all the bird watchers to come over.
No.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, it's 7:15. After that little moment of birdie zen, let's hear the headlines. What's going on?
Canada's telecom complaint watchdog fielding more than 19,000 customer complaints about phone, internet, and TV services between last August and this past January. Perhaps you were one of them. The Commission for Complaints for Telecom TV Services says the mid-year tally works out to about a 61% rise in the number of grievances compared to the year before. Customer issues with their wireless service made about 50%. 56%, in fact, of all complaints submitted. Billing issues was the top concern. Speaking of cell phones, the Ontario government now considering stricter rules on phones and social media in schools. The education minister says a full cell phone ban is being reviewed in that province, adding that they're looking at age limits for social media sites. Officials say they're working with the federal government to establish possible national rules. This, of course, as BC is following that route, and Manitoba as well. And interest rates expected to be left unchanged by the Federal Reserve after meeting today in the U.S. The central bank will see its key inflation at about 2% target alongside the weak labor market in the U.S. This, as we learn, of course, here in Canada with our federal interest rate. The Bank of Canada has held its benchmark interest rate steady at 2.25% this morning for the fourth straight time. Central bank officials now warning the policy rate could move in a variety of directions going forward, depending on how the war between the U.S. and Iran trade policy evolves. And that's your news to 7:17.
Got a text message here, Lisa.
Okay.
You cracked me up. You succeeded, texter. This texter says, "What's the name of that bird you just played? Sorry, but it reminds me of my girlfriend. Always talking."
Ooh.
Oh.
No, chirping.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Shots fired.
You tell her that, and then you're in the doghouse.
See how that goes. But to answer your question, the Buick's Wren was the name of the bird from today's bird break. One of the big things in the news, of course, is the federal government and its economic update because of high oil prices. So we got a little bit of a rosier picture when it comes to the deficit. But what else did we learn, and what does it mean for you from the federal government's update? We're going to talk to Bloomberg Vancouver's bureau chief following the story, Thomas Seal, joining us in just a moment after traffic and weather. It's time for C-FAX 1070 traffic and weather, where we are looking at a fairly typical start to the day other than the paving work continuing on Cook Street between Bay and Hillside. Watch out for delays there again today until 7 p.m. and then every day this week, same time frame. We're watching the commute from the West Shore, and it's now built up to about a 40 to 45-minute drive if you're going from the Trans-Canada Highway and the West Shore Parkway area of Langford. That's the neighborhood we're deciding to focus in on today. That's about a 40 to 45-minute drive now, starting to build up those volume delays, but there's no crash, accident, other specific issue causing trouble so far, knock on wood. For BC Ferries, 8 o'clock sailing is coming up. No sailing waits. And for the weather, a mix of sun and cloud today. Could be a little breezy by the water, but other than that, it's a high of 18 degrees. A little cooler if you're by the windy Wandafuka Strait. Clear skies overnight. Lows down to 8 degrees expected.
Let's get started.
Start your day informed and entertained. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Well, we had an economic update from the federal government yesterday, which featured many things, a slightly lower deficit than expected, a bit more oil money coming in. But what else did we learn that matters to us here? We're going to talk to Thomas Seal now, who is with Bloomberg. He's the Vancouver bureau chief for the publication, and he's been following the story closely. Thomas Seal, how you doing?
I'm great, thanks. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing all right. Get my head around what this all means. Of course, some of the big numbers we saw were, with the deficit, projecting a $66.9 billion deficit for the fiscal year, which is a lot lower than it used to be. But what else did we learn out of all this?
Yeah, the short version could be summarized as the government's income was a bit higher than it would have been, and they spent it. So,
they made some money and they spent some money.
Yeah, so the deficit was broadly unchanged, even though, Canada is a net exporter of oil, and oil prices, as we all know from Trump, have soared. So the tax receipts to the government, the profits to oil companies, the trickle-down effect of that has a positive effect on the national accounts. And then, the government has announced new plans for ways to, what they would term, invest that money, such as a new sovereign wealth fund, and this new plan to fund people getting into the trades to build these new major projects.
Yeah, the Sovereign Wealth Fund got announced as well just before all of this, so I guess we can talk about that too. But just back to the economic update for a moment, and you mentioned the oil prices. I want to dial in on that a little bit because that seems like an interesting aspect to this, where the Canadian government might be having this bit of a boon. I'm sure Alberta's also feeling it, taking a bit more money because of the high oil prices. But then on the other hand, it's sort of a worrying thing for the economy because even though we might be making more tax revenue, regular people are having to spend a lot more. Businesses are having to spend a lot more because of the high fuel prices. So it's a weird thing to be balancing.
Yes, it's definitely not just a positive piece of news for Canada. Obviously, there's people pull back on spending. If they're spending more on fuel trickles through to everything. So, all the food that we get out here in Western Canada, all the lumber industry, fuel is one of their biggest costs. They're hauling huge distances around, Prince George and those places. So it definitely kind of fuels inflation. So that's not good. There's also other effects from the Strait of Hormuz being disrupted, which we may not have totally seen yet, but they're gradually rippling through the global economy. So fertilizer prices, they're going up. That will affect food prices. So for sure, it's more like we're being shielded from the effects, but it's not like it's totally good.
So either way, we are making a bit of extra money right now, which sort of helped out with the deficit. But as you said, we also spent a bunch of money. What did we learn when it comes to the spending, and how's that going to affect us?
Yeah, so the big bang update was back at the end of last year with the budget, and this is more like an update. And so, Carney has made a big deal about spending more on defence. So that's where a lot of that money is going. Also funding more infrastructure. So out in BC, that will include things like this last mile fund, which is to help try and get these mines built in places like the Golden Triangle up in the northwest. Building the power lines and the roads to actually make these things more economical. In terms of what we learned yesterday, there's this new trades fund, so $6 billion over 5 years to get 80 to 100,000 people into the trades. I mean, basically, you can see that as part of the same major project plan. It's, we're going to need people to actually build these pipelines, ports, bridges, roads, what have you.
Now, I've been trying to get my head around that because I saw that as one of the big headlines that could affect us here. Like, hey, trades training, that's great. But how does that money actually get spent? Are we giving it to colleges to expand spaces? Like, where does this money actually go?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's a wage incentive. That seems like quite a big chunk of it. So small and medium-sized businesses can get a $10,000 wage incentive if they register people as apprentices or if they're doing training. There will be grants for technical training at colleges. There'll be bonuses for people who get certified as a Red Seal. So there's kind of a suite of incentives to try and get people into those skilled trades.
Okay, so that's kind of how that money will end up getting spent. And one of the other big aspects out of the week was not necessarily this economic update with, slightly better picture because of some oil revenue making the deficit a little less, but we're spending some money on things like this trade program. So that was a bit of the update then. But then there was that sovereign wealth fund update. A few days now since that announcement. What else have we learned about it and how it's going over?
Yeah, it's called a sovereign wealth fund by the government. It's unusual compared to maybe the ones that people think about, Saudi Arabia or Norway, because it's not just taxing the oil income and putting it in a savings account. It's actually funded out of government money, which is, of course, our money. So we don't know exactly how that will happen, but it could be just debt or, we don't know. $25 billion to start with, and they want it to grow. Another very unusual thing about it, which is pretty rare, is that, normal, retail investors, me and you, should be able to invest in it.
Well, I think that's interesting. This is something we can access as well, just as individuals, if you wanted to invest in this thing.
Yeah, and how that will work raises all sorts of interesting questions. On the one hand, it could be seen as reassuring because they want it to, give normal investors a return, so it should sort of show that is really the goal. On the other hand, there's questions like, well, mines and infrastructure, the kinds of things that this fund may be investing in are very long term, like more than 10 years, maybe 20 years before you see a return on some of these kinds of things. So if you're a big, Goldman Sachs type person, that's maybe more your speed. But for the average investor, they're thinking more on like a 1 year, 5 year timeline for when they want to see their fund go up.
But a very different looking sovereign wealth fund, because you're right. I think people do have a connotation of with that. You think of Norway, you think of the fact that they took all their oil money, not all of their oil money, but a lot of it, and put it into this big fund to sort of help out the people. That's not what this is. It is a very different looking thing. And we'll continue to see how that develops. But we're just about out of time. We have Thomas Seal, Vancouver Bureau Chief with Bloomberg here, talking about some of the business economic news coming out of the federal government today. Anything else big this week that we missed that we should add?
I think those are the big updates, okay. And they just raise as many questions as they do answers. Yeah. So looking forward to chatting with you again. As we've been discussing,
but some curious things to follow up. Thank you for your time, as always, and we'll talk again soon.
It's fun.
7:30 news coming up next on C-FAX 1070. We've also got your traffic and weather, and we'll play you a clip of a famous mom again that you can identify. Text us with the correct name, and you'll be entered into the draw to get a call later this morning to win a gift certificate for Mother's Day to the Steamship Bar and Grill. So guess that mom, that famous TV mom, coming up in a moment.
From C-FAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island. Design Victoria is April 30th to May 7th. Full schedule and ticket prices at designvictoria.ca. Sign up and support the Walk for Alzheimer's, Sunday, May 31st at Fisherman's Wharf. More info at walkforalzheimers.ca. Have an event you want featured on C-FAX 1070? Text us at 71010 to be featured. Get more event info at cfax1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
C-FAX 1070.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
C-FAX 1070.
Hey, good morning. It's 7:31 on Wednesday, April the 29th. A beautiful day in store with mostly sunny skies once we get through some morning cloud and a high of 18 degrees. Cooler by the water. Full details in weather coming up in just a moment. But right now, the news begins. And here is Lisa Best.
Good morning. A Burnaby man arrested up island after RCMP seized 780 grams of cocaine and 310 grams of fentanyl during a drug bust earlier this month. Campbell River RCMP say they searched a short-term rental location south of the city on April 16th. Along with the suspected illicit drugs, police also discovered more than $13,000 in cash. The 31-year-old suspect has been released with a court date. He'll be in front of a judge in June. Reaction continues to roll into the Liberal government's spring economic update that dropped yesterday. The biggest news is the shrinking of the national deficit from $78 billion suggested to $63 billion. Green Party leader in Saanich and the Gulf Islands MP Elizabeth May is weighing in on this, noting that they aren't carving cash out of the coffers for climate change.
But bottom line, if we don't deal with the climate crisis on an urgent basis at a time when scientists are warning us that tipping points are in the near term, potentially with catastrophic permanent shifts in our global climate. And yet this budget has nothing new for renewable energy. Not a penny of new money. There's still the tax credits we got from last year's budget. But solar, wind, renewable energy are ignored, but we're going to get a big nuclear energy strategy. No surprise.
May also reiterated her support for the idea of a Canada-wide approach to electricity, which the government promised in the fall. She says they will get a report on it instead of action on it. Another new report says customer complaints about phone, internet, and TV services surged so far this year.
The mid-year report by the telecom sector's complaint watchdog says grievances are up 61%. The increase has been driven by customers' issues with their wireless service, largely because of installation and activation costs, incorrect monthly plan charges, and roaming fees. Internet issues accounted for 28% of total complaints, while just under 1 in 10 were about TV service. The report says Rogers had the highest proportion of all complaints, followed by TELUS and Bell. Michelle Zedekian, The Canadian Press.
As expected last hour, the Bank of Canada holding its benchmark interest rate steady at 2.25% for the fourth straight time. Central bank officials are warning the policy rate could move in a variety of directions. BOC Governor Tip Macklin says the key rate is probably at about the right levels if the economy evolves in line with the central bank's projections, but warns the risks tied to the war in the Middle East. The Bank of Canada's forecast for overall growth hasn't changed much from its last outlook in January, with Macklin saying he expects inflation to peak at around 3% before cooling early next year. More on the United Arab Emirates' decision to cool its involvement with OPEC.
This is a major blow to OPEC, to that cartel of some of the biggest oil-producing countries in the world. Most of the countries in OPEC are based in the Middle East, and the number one oil producer is, hands down, Saudi Arabia in this cartel. But not far behind that, after Iraq, is the United Arab Emirates. It accounts for about 13% of all of OPEC's oil production.
In health news, Health Canada approving the first generic version of the brand name Ozempic, making Canada the first G7 country to authorize it.
The injectable medication is manufactured by Dr. Reddy's Laboratories in India and is approved for the once-weekly treatment of type 2 diabetes in adults. The drug is also often prescribed off-label for weight loss. Many people without drug coverage have been eagerly waiting for generic semaglutide because Novo Nordisk's Ozempic can cost hundreds of dollars a month. Many generic medications are 45 to 90% cheaper than brand name versions. Health Canada says it continues to review 8 other generic semaglutide submissions from other companies. Karen Rebo, The Canadian Press, Toronto.
And that's your C-FAX News to 7:35. our CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. Do you conserve water? It's in focus right now, and it's early, isn't it, for it? 49% say yes year-round. It's a good habit. 31% say they do conserve seasonally, and 20% never do. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com, Twitter X, or the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, your news time, 7:36.
Thanks, Lisa. We are going to play in a few moments another clip of a famous TV mom. If you can correctly identify that mom, text us at 71010 will enter you into the draw for the Steamship Bar and Grill gift certificate for Monday, or for Mother's Day, not Monday. Mother's Day, the other M word.
Next Sunday.
That's the one. Not this one, the next one. Okay. And it's a Sunday.
Yes.
But first, we got to do our CFAX 1070 sports because the Edmonton Oilers kept themselves alive yet again with a 4-1 win over the visiting Anaheim Ducks last night. The Oilers still trail the series 3-2, but hey, they're digging their way back out of that hole. And Edmonton Oilers captain Connor McDavid says it's still an uphill climb from here to win the series.
Take a big effort, really, really big effort. We're still in a tough spot, really tough spot, and we got to find a way to win in a tough building, and thought we were right there in Game 4. Another great opportunity in Game 6.
The Oilers stare down elimination once again tomorrow, Game 6 in Anaheim. Now for tonight, we got another Canadian team in action. It's the Montreal Canadiens facing the Tampa Bay Lightning with the first-round best-of-7 series tied up at 2 games apiece. Elsewhere, the Philadelphia Flyers will get another chance to clinch their series when they host the Pittsburgh Penguins, leading 3-2, and the Vegas Golden Knights hosting the Utah Mammoth in the late game with a series that's tied at 2-2. Toronto Blue Jays back at it. They will take on the Boston Red Sox in Game 3 of a 3-game set. Boston won the first one 5-0. Now, last night, Toronto managed to get the win 3-0. And today, for Game 3, lefty Eric Lauer will start on the hill for the Jays. And basketball playoffs still going. We got the Toronto Raptors aiming to grab a 3-2 lead in their first-round NBA playoff series tonight when they visit the Cleveland Cavaliers. That game is tied up at 2 games apiece. And that is your CFAX 1070 Sports to 7:39. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. The time in Victoria is 7:40, and the commute is actually looking pretty typical. No crashes, no accidents to report. Volume delays from the West Shore into Victoria are, I don't know, typical or maybe even a little on the light side from the area around the West Shore Parkway and the Trans-Canada Highway.
Whatever you say, don't say quiet.
I'm not trying. I'm trying. You can see my struggle.
Yeah,
you can see my
struggle is real.
It is, but it's about 40 minutes from the West Shore Parkway and the Trans-Canada Highway all the way into downtown Victoria, which is quicker than it can be on a Wednesday. So it's looking all right. If you have evidence to the contrary, text me at 71010. But I got no crashes, no accidents. The paving works on at Cook Street between Bay and Hillside again, so that's slowing that area up. But otherwise, things are looking okay for this Wednesday morning. 8 o'clock sailing coming up with lots of room left from Swartz Bay to Swanson. And the weather's looking good. Mix of sun and clouds. Highs around 18 degrees, a little cooler by the water. Tonight, clear skies, lows to 8. Tomorrow, another mix of sun and cloud with slightly stronger winds off the Juan de Fuca Strait, but still not too... It's not stormy, just a bit breezy, and that'll make it feel a little cooler again. So high of 20 tomorrow, but a little cooler by the windy Juan de Fuca Strait. Clouds on Friday, highs of 18. Saturday and Sunday, mix of sun and cloud with temperatures into the low 20s as we continue to warm up as the days go on. For the temperatures right now, in downtown Victoria, it is about 8 degrees. Oak Bay by the water, it's 10 degrees. On the markets, things are down to start the day. S&P TSX in Toronto down 129 to 33,455. The Dow in New York is down 164 to 48,977. The Canadian dollar is about 73 cents U.S. even, which is a little down from yesterday. And the barrel of oil at $104.88 U.S. a barrel. So it's gone back above $100 a barrel. That's a $4.95 change. And the Bank of Canada earlier this morning holding its key interest rate steady at 2.25%.
It's all here. News, weather, traffic, and community events. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on C-FAX 1070.
Can you guess this famous mom?
I am a nurse. I know that 1 in 5 teenagers smoke. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I'm going to close my eyes. And when I open them, there had better be a cigarette between these 2 fingers. Come on, people, hop 2.
There's a famous TV mom for you. Do you know who it is? Mm-hmm. If you text me at 71010, we'll put your name into the hat. We'll draw a name just after the 8 o'clock news, sports, weather, traffic, all that stuff that's coming up, and then get ready for a call. You got to get the call, though. You got to take the phone call.
Take the phone call.
And if you pick
You're in
up...
a meeting, I got to take this. This is important.
This is way more important.
Or write you a note.
Tell your boss, I have better things to do right now.
Well... maybe soften that a little.
Okay, don't use that language. Sorry. Anyways.
Ryan's getting you in trouble.
I didn't mean to get you in trouble. What is this for? Well, if we call you, you will win a $100 gift certificate to the Steamship Bar and Grill because they've got a Mother's Day brunch coming up. They'll be serving up a classic brunch with complimentary mimosas for mom, and details about all that at cfax1070.com or on the iHeart Radio app. But yeah, we're going to continue our famous mom contest. You just have to identify that mom coming up.
Nice.
Also coming up in a few moments, we're going to learn more about the Juan de Fuca Trail, one of the popular hiking and backpacking trails here on Vancouver Island that has been closed because of storm damage that took place kind of the end of 2024, beginning of 2025. That winter season really wreaked havoc with the Juan de Fuca Marine Trail.
You say there's lots of little bridges and stuff,
yeah,
right? That were,
and little washouts and all sorts of stuff. Anyways, it took them a lot of time and a lot of money to fix this, but we just learned from the BC government yesterday that they will get it open again this summer because they hadn't said yet, and that was a big concern. Like, would we lose a second season of the Juan de Fuca Trail?
Shame.
But they will open it this year is what we have heard, but details still to come on exactly when. And you know what? What do they have to do to get this thing open? So we're going to talk to the minister in charge, BC's Minister of Parks and Environment, will be joining us on the program in a few moments' time to talk more about that. So stay tuned. And while we're waiting for that, let's get caught up on the news. Here is Lisa.
Most of the province is now starting to weigh in on AI chatbots and social media for kids, especially under the age of 16 in Manitoba. The premier there, Wab Canoe, says tech companies could face unprecedented fines, potentially in the billions, if they don't comply with a proposed ban. The plan targets platforms rather than families and aims to protect youth mental health and development. Manitoba intends to roll out the first phase in schools while legislation is being developed. Other provinces, including here in BC and Ontario, considering the similar measures. But of course, all the premiers are looking to the federal watchdog to jump in. Federal Cultural Minister Mark Miller had said that Ottawa is studying a possible countrywide ban on the issue for kids under the age of 16. We'll let you know what happens next. Late Hollywood director Rob Reiner's son is due in court today in connection with the death of his parents. Nick Reiner will appear in an LA courtroom on a preliminary hearing. Prosecutors will present evidence to determine whether he'll go to trial for the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle. And do you have tech neck? Formula One drivers know this well. They train their neck muscles intensely to withstand the extreme G-forces while racing at high speeds. Experts say similar exercises and good posture can help you after the prolonged screen use that we all do. It simple routines like chin tucks, planks, light resistance, and even putting your back against the wall, trying to straighten things out, can improve your neck strength and prevent pain. Specialists add that a strong neck and core muscles may also aid in injury prevention and recovery period time. That is your news to 746.
Yeah, I saw the movie F1 with Brad Pitt recently, and there's a bunch of scenes of him doing exercises.
Okay.
And one of them is all these neck exercises. And I guess that's why. Because
You
the
wouldn't
F1,
even think of that.
Yeah, the F1 racers, with all the G-forces and stuff, they got to keep their heads straight, I guess.
When I get my helmet on, when I'm starting to wear it,
Yeah?
like in the spring and sort of back on the bike, as it were, and I haven't been wearing a helmet for a while, that's a thing. And I know our new students feel the same thing because you've got, about 3 pounds on your head that you're not used to wearing. And so when you put your helmet down to look at something down, that strain is on your neck. So, strong neck, strong core is important.
Or if you just look at your phone too much.
Well, there's
Either
that
or.
too.
Driving a race car,
Everyone
looking at
guilty.
your phone.
Don't do the two together.
Okay. That's true, yeah.
It's either or.
We had a few moments. We're going to talk to BC's Minister of Parks and Environment, Tamara Davidson, about the Juan de Fuca Trail reopening. What do we know? We'll find out more next.
Developing political story, a big doozy.
Vashi Capellos.
What started as a dull day is anything but.
The top newsmakers.
Your go-to political debrief. Daily. What is really going on?
The breaking news.
Just moments ago.
And the entertaining analysis and debate to follow.
I don't think you can sugarcoat it. It's an issue.
It's not true, guys. Yeah.
Vashi Capellos.
There is a greater plan here.
Vashi Capellos. Weekdays, 9 a.m. to 11.
Bigger picture politically, which is
on C-FAX 1070.
C-FAX Morning Show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Fresh, first of the season BC halibut is now available at your favorite Thrifty Foods. For traffic and weather, it is looking like a fairly typical West Shore commute, maybe even a little lighter than usual. About an hour from Souk to downtown Victoria is the estimated time right now, based on conditions. And for the BC ferries, no sailing waits, 8 o'clock sailing about to go, and there's still room left. For the weather, it is looking mostly sunny today. A bit of cloud this morning, but it's going to clear as we get through the day. Highs of 18, a little cooler by the windy Juan de Fuca Strait. Clear skies tonight, lows to 8, and then tomorrow, another mix of sun and cloud, highs of about 20 degrees. Again, cooler by the water, where we'll see some breeze again tomorrow. And right now, temperature at the Victoria International Airport is 10 degrees.
Don't attempt your morning commute without us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on C-FAX 1070.
It's one of our popular outdoor trails here on Vancouver Island for locals and visitors alike. The Juan de Fuca Marine Trail, though, has been closed all last year because of storm damage, but we've just learned it's reopening. And here to talk about it, I've got the BC Minister of Parks and Environment, Tamara Davidson, joining us on the line. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Yeah, great to have you here. So for those who missed it, talk about the closure and what it took to get it reopened.
Yeah, we had, a series of fall and winter storms, and it caused extensive damage to the trail. And so we've been working on sections of the trail to deal with the toppled trees and the slopes, and then also replacing several bridges that were damaged in the storms. And so we're really excited because we're going to have a confirmed reopening date in mid-May. And I know that I had a chance to go out and visit and check on the progress, and it's looking great.
And you mentioned all of the things that had to happen, like logs getting cleared, landslide or like slope slides getting fixed, all these bridges getting repaired. Now, the whole thing about the Juan de Fuca Trail is it's, in places you're hiking with a backpack and nothing else into the wilderness. So it's remote in stretches. So I can imagine getting crews in to fix all this stuff is logistically challenging.
You are absolutely right. It's a very remote area and very rugged, especially with the weather conditions. And so we're looking at also rerouting some of the trail locations just to make sure that it's really safe for hikers that are going in there and making sure that it's a more sustainable route for them. We did a lot of major repairs, but we also did minor repairs and just resurfacing worn or eroded sections of the trail, and then also just looking at any danger trees that were there and making sure that the trail edges were reinforced so that footing couldn't be compromised.
And some people were griping about it being closed, and some people I know, because there were warnings placed about this, were even trying the trail despite its closure. Talk about why it had to be closed. Like, how bad was it?
It was extensive. We have invested about $950,000 into the cost of doing all of these extensive repairs. We put up warnings. We asked the public not to go into those places because we knew that it was very dangerous. The trails were not ready for hikers, and we just needed to make sure that we had the time and the space to make sure that those repairs were done right.
Now, the $950,000 price tag you just mentioned, I understand some of that money came from the federal government. They had some kind of emergency funding. Talk about where the money came from.
Yeah, it was really great. I'm so happy we're working closely with Public Safety Canada, the federal department, on the Disaster Financial Assistance Arrangements Program. They have been really great in helping to support areas that are damaged by extensive storms. And this was one of the projects that we were really excited they decided to invest in. This 47-kilometer trail is such a favorite of people living in British Columbia, and we're so happy for the support that they provided.
Now, the news is that it will reopen for this summer season, but we don't yet have an exact date. I think the wording was that the opening day will be announced in mid-May. Talk us through that process and what has to happen before you select that date.
Yeah, so we're still completing some of the major bridge repairs, and we know that the completion is coming up quickly. So we didn't want to make an announcement until we knew that those bridge repairs were going to be completed. So the opening date will be announced sometime in mid-May, and we'll make sure that we post that on our BC Parks website and that the public's fully aware of when the opening dates are going to be.
But once it opens, this is not like a campground that you have to reserve or book or anything like that. Once it's open, it's just open and you can go. I think there is a fee you pay, but you don't have to make a reservation or anything or get on the BC Parks website and book a site or something. It's not one of those situations, is it?
It's one of our backcountry camping. So we do ask that hikers go online, take a look at the backcountry campsites that are available. And then there also are day use passes in some of the areas. Given that it's a 47-kilometer long trail, we do have different areas that will require day passes, and we're working closely just to make sure that we're not overusing a lot of our trails in our BC parks. We want to make sure that they're available to everybody, and we've been working really hard on making many of them accessible.
Juan de Fuca Trail. Wait for mid-May. They'll reveal the date that it'll be officially open to backpackers and day hikers and all the rest of them. That's when we'll learn the date. We're talking to BC's Minister of Parks and Environment, Tamara Davidson, about what went into getting it open again and why it closed in the first place. Final question to you is just, how important of a trail this is, because, it's something we like as locals, but I know that for some of those areas, around Port Renfrew or in Shirley and all of these communities around there, it's actually a big economic driver because people travel to go to it and, it attracts visitors. How big of a deal is it for that community?
It's one of our most popular backcountry hiking experiences on Southern Vancouver Island, and it attracts thousands of visitors each year. And it's also an area with deep cultural significance to the Pacheedaht First Nation, and they work closely with our BC Parks on the management of the trail. We have seen such an increase in visitation over the last few years. British Columbians are staying in British Columbia, and they want to get out into nature. They want to get out into our parks and into the backcountry so that they can really experience the beauty that we have here.
Well, thank you so much for telling us about it. And we'll follow up in May when we learn the full opening date. But Tamara Davidson, Minister of Parks and Environment, thank you so much for spending some of your morning with us here and telling us the good news.
Thank you so much.
All right, there we go. You have got the C-FAX Morning Show with Ryan and Lisa here. We've got your 8 o'clock news in a few moments. And then after that, we will call somebody who correctly identified today's famous TV mom and give them a $100 gift certificate to the Steamship Bar and Grill for Mother's Day brunch. And if you missed the clip, if you're just joining us, let's do it again. Let's one more time give you a sense of today's TV mom.
Boys, I realize that I may have been a little irrational today.
A little?
Shut up!
Oh, man. You know, it's I want to comment without giving away the show, but it's been a while since I've seen that show, and I'm having fond memories of that character. If you can correctly identify the TV mom, give us a text right now at 71010. If you correctly identify the mom, we're going to put your name into the proverbial hat, draw a name in just a few moments, and make a phone call. So text us now at 71010. We've got more trail news to talk about coming up. We were just talking about the reopening of the Wandafuka Trail. Well, the CRD and Capital Regional District Parks are looking to expand the accessibility of trails through its network by some interesting visual mapping using the same technology behind Google Street View. They're going to be doing 360-degree camera shots of some of its trails, so you can kind of look ahead and see what you're in for, which could help with things like accessibility if you want to see if this is a trail that is right for your level of ability and capability. So we're going to talk about that coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, too. So much to come right here on the C-FAX 1070 Morning Show.
CFAX Victoria,
an iHeartRadio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
C-FAX 1070.
Good morning. It's 8 o'clock on this Wednesday, April the 29th. Another nice summery kind of day coming at us once we get through some morning clouds. Sunshine, highs up to 18. Full forecast to come, but right now the news begins. And here is Lisa Best.
Good morning. Vic PD providing more information about the decision to transition away from providing dedicated traffic controls for downtown protests. This after criticism from protest groups. In a statement, the force said it did not frame these demonstrations in religious terms. The decision was rooted solely in members' wellness and operational realities. They engage community representatives based on existing relationships and established lines of communication with partner groups. VicPD say reference to participation in commemorative events, including National Holocaust Memorial Day, are separate from operational policing decisions. The federal government injecting $755 million into the sports system over the next 5 years, including $660 million more to national sport organizations to invest in athletes and grow youth participation in their sport. The Canadian Olympic and Paralympic committees have been lobbying for an increase for over 2 years now. COC Chief Executive David Shoemaker says athletes on the international and local stages will benefit from this funding boost.
There's a strategy in place now and funding behind it to take young Canadians from playground to podium.
Another goal of the funding is to reduce financial barriers to sports so more Canadians can participate. The Bank of Canada holding its benchmark interest rate steady at 2.25% for a fourth consecutive time today. This as it waits for more clarity on the war in the Middle East and the future of U.S. tariffs.
Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem says there are a variety of directions the policy rate could go from here. He says the key rate is probably at about the right level if the economy evolves in line with the bank's projections, but warns there are significant risks tied to the Middle East conflict and the upcoming review of the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement. If the U.S. hits Canada with sharper trade restrictions in the wake of that review, Macklem says the bank may need to cut rates to bolster the economy. But if the Iran war keeps global energy prices higher for longer, the bank may need to hike rates to keep inflation under control. Michelle Zadikian, The Canadian Press.
Billionaire Elon Musk and AI executive Sam Altman expected to take the stand at a trial in California today. Musk is suing Altman, saying he was tricked into investing into OpenAI as a nonprofit. Musk says Altman intended to turn the company into a for-profit business. OpenAI did just that last year and appears to be readying for a big IPO later this year. Musk left OpenAI in 2018.
Musk is basically looking for OpenAI to reverse its decision, for it to go back to being a nonprofit with that original sort of founding ethos of developing AI for the good of humanity, and for that company to pay back all the profits it's made as a for-profit enterprise to the company's charity.
A trend called Scientology speedrunning has gone viral on social media.
Groups of people, mostly teens, are posting videos of themselves running through buildings in Hollywood owned by the Church of Scientology. The speedrunners scream and laugh while running through the building before either leaving on their own or being thrown out by security. Some of the videos, which have millions of views on social media, show people dressed as Jesus Christ or Sonic the Hedgehog rushing past security guards. Scientology officials are calling it a hate crime and are calling on the LAPD to arrest people who rush their buildings. Some anti-Scientology activists call it a form of protest, while others warn it's dangerous. I'm Daniel Martindale.
Maybe they just need a job. In health news, a sports medicine specialist giving some advice on weighted vests. Dr. Jessica Tomzak says a vest helps burn more calories and can help you build more muscle when combined with strength training. But there is caveats.
You want to be careful with things like bike riding, anything that's at a higher rate of speed or requires additional balance, especially if you're new to it. You know, it can throw off your balance a bit. So just being careful with the activities.
She says people, or you, should make sure that the vest fits securely, make sure it's breathable material, and should choose a vest that's about 5 to 10% of their body weight. Anything heavier, she says, could increase your chances of injury. And how much are you spending on Mom for Mother's Day?
The average person is expected to spend about $250 this year, mostly on flowers, brunch, and things Mom will insist she absolutely loves, even if she has no idea what it is. Nationwide spending could top $30 billion, which just proves one thing. When it comes to Mom, we don't mind going big. Although most moms insist they really don't need a thing, they really do love macaroni art. I'm Monica Nelson.
You can go big with C-FAX. We got a $100 gift certificate on the line today that you could win if you answer who the famous mom is. Ryan will be playing you another clip in a few minutes. That's your news to 8:05.
The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe.
Join us this week to learn about an upcoming event promoting independence and safety in your home, being held Wednesday, April 22nd from 1:30 to 3:30. Guest speakers will be discussing how home safety solutions can help reduce risk, increase confidence, and support daily living. This is an event by the Victoria Seniors Business Network,
providing info on everything you needed to know about real estate. The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe, Saturdays at noon on C-FAX 1070.
Your C-FAX 1070 news poll question. We're asking, do you conserve water? 53% say yes year-round, 30% seasonally, and 16% apparently never do. You can vote at cfax1070.com or the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best. Your news time is 8:06.
Hey, thanks, Lisa, and good morning. So one more time, let's give our listeners a last chance to guess the famous TV mom of the day. Can you identify this mom?
Oh, no, I'm not pouting. That would upset our routine. God knows I wouldn't want to move in a new direction and accidentally slip in a puddle of fun or anything.
If you can identify that TV mom, text us right now at 71010, because in a few moments even, I'm going to call the winner. We're going to draw a name out of all of those correct answers. Call somebody in a few minutes and present them with a Mother's Day gift certificate to the Steamship Bar and Grill worth $100.
Nice.
That's coming up. But by the way, if you miss out, if we don't call you today, don't worry. We're doing it again tomorrow with a different famous TV mom. Over to the sports, where it was a big one for the Edmonton Oilers. They kept themselves alive, avoided elimination from the NHL playoffs with a 4-1 win over the visiting Anaheim Ducks. The Oilers still trail 3-2, but they've managed to dig themselves out of the hole almost. Can they do it again tomorrow? Well, Edmonton captain Connor McDavid says it is an uphill climb to win the series.
It'll take a big effort, really, really big effort. We're still in a tough spot, really tough spot, and we got to find a way to win in a tough building. And thought we were right there in Game 4. Another great opportunity in Game 6.
The Oilers staring down elimination again tomorrow in Game 6 in Anaheim. Tonight in the NHL playoffs, we will go to Florida with the Montreal Canadiens facing the Tampa Bay Lightning with their first-round best-of-7 series tied up at 2 games apiece. Then the Philadelphia Flyers will get another chance to clinch their series when they host the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins keep fighting back, though. Flyers leading 3-2. And the Vegas Golden Knights hosting the Utah Mammoth in the late game with that series tied up at 2-2. The other playoffs going on, of course, that we're following are the Toronto Raptors in the NBA playoffs. They are aiming to grab a 3-2 lead in their first-round series when they face the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. And the Blue Jays will be playing the third game of this 3-game set against the Boston Red Sox. Each team's 1-1 now. We had the Boston Red Sox winning the first one, 5-0. The opener on Monday. The Jays came back yesterday to beat the Sox 3-0. And who's going to win the series? We'll find out tonight with the Jays putting Eric Lauer on the mound for the start. And that is your C-FAX Sports to 8:09. We're going to call somebody in just a moment. Somebody who texted us correctly, today's famous TV mom. So get ready for the call, and we will reveal the winner next. C-FAX 1070 traffic and weather. The time in Victoria is 10 after 8, and it's looking pretty reasonable out there for the commute. I'm not seeing any crashes or accidents. If you see otherwise, text me at 71010. The West Shore commute has been typical, if not even a little light today, comparatively speaking. And for the BC ferries, no sailing waits. For the weather, it's looking very nice. A few clouds out there right now, but it's going to increasingly become sunnier and sunnier as the day goes on, with a little wind off the Waterfuca Strait. Highs to hit 18 degrees, but cooler by the water. Clear skies tonight, lows to 8, and then tomorrow it's looking very similar. Mix of sun and cloud, little wind by the water. Highs of 20, but cooler if you're by the breezy Waterfuca Strait. Clouds for Friday, highs of 18 degrees. Mix of sun and cloud for the weekend with temperatures into the low 20s, but again, cooler by the water. Right now, the official temperature at the Victoria International Airport is 10 degrees. On the markets, let's see what's happening. Today, it's been kind of a down day. S&P TSX dropping 160 points so far to 33,442. Make that 424. Sorry, flipped a couple numbers there. 33,424.
Yeah, carry the 7, please.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of numbers.
Decimals matter.
And they're moving because you keep trading things. You keep buying stocks and selling stocks. All this stocks. Dow Jones is down 238 to 48,903. The Canadian dollar at 73.1 cents U.S., which is now just up a tenth of a cent from yesterday's close. And the barrel of oil continues to climb, now at $105.14 U.S. a barrel, up $5.21 from yesterday.
Thanks for starting your day with us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Can you guess that famous TV mom? That is what we're doing right now, and we've got somebody on the line who correctly texted me the name earlier in the show. So is this Dan?
Dan. This is Dan, Ryan.
Hey, Dan.
Thanks for calling. Thanks for participating. And can you officially right here tell me the name of this famous TV mom? Let me play a clip.
Well, okay, then I can change one answer on the quiz. So, okay, we have 4 out of 10. We have moved up from predictable as the tides to humdrum.
Who's that famous TV mom, Dan?
Well, that would be Kitty from Red's wife from the 70s show.
That is correct. Eric Foreman's mom was also something I would accept. Congratulations.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
That 70s show is the show, by the way, that is there. Kitty Foreman. You know what's funny is if you hear that actress speak normally, she sounds nothing like that, but she put on this ridiculous voice.
She was quite the character.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what always makes me a little sad? Sorry, I've got to get into this. So when that show first started, it was the 90s, right? And it was that 70s show. So in the 90s, you're watching the show from 20 years ago. It took place 20 years ago, and that seemed like an eternity ago. And, you know, I'm thinking about if they made that show now, you know, with the same timeline, it would be something like, what, that 2000 show or something. The fact that we're there. That 2006 show or something, you know, would be just bizarre to think of doing that now.
Just give it a minute.
Yes.
It's coming.
I know. Man. But Dan, you have now won yourself a $100 gift certificate to the Steamship Bar and Grill for Mother's Day. They got a brunch coming up. It's a traditional brunch, complimentary mimosa for mom. Who are you going to take? Do you have like your mom or your wife, or who's the mom in your life?
Well, my mom passed away a few years ago, and I'm not married, but I do have a special lady that I will be taking for sure.
Nice.
Excellent. That's great. Hey, you know, anybody will do. It's Mother's Day for everybody, and we are so glad you could call and win the gift certificate, Dan. Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you, Ryan. Have a great day.
Don't go anywhere. I'm going to put you on hold, but I need to get some information from you off the air, so just stay right there. If you missed out today, don't worry, because we've still got 2 more days of Famous Moms, Lisa.
We do, and we'll try to make it easy for you. We pretty much everybody who guessed today was right on. Some were off the mark. We let them know. But again, play along. You never know. You could be winning this tomorrow.
Who will be tomorrow's mom? We've had so far Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
We've had, today was Kitty.
Correct.
From that 70s show. We had Peg Bundy from Married with Children.
Who's popular.
Who's another famous TV mom?
All
You'll
right.
have to listen tomorrow.
You ready?
Okay, it's 8:15, time for the headlines with Lisa.
BC Attorney General Nikki Sharma says this province may look at creating its own regulations on children using social media and AI chatbots. That's if Ottawa does not bring in its own protections. Sharma says the province lauds Manitoba, Ontario too, and moving forward with a possible ban, but adds that safety measures will be more effective if enacted on a federal level. She says BC has reached out to Manitoba on a plan to roll out the ban, adding that an alliance between the provinces to form the necessary protections would also work. The regulations of AI chatbots has been hotly debated in light of the Tumbler Ridge mass shooting earlier this year. Canada's Telecom's complaint watchdog fielded more than 19,000 customer complaints last year. Maybe you were one of them. It was about phone, internet, and TV services between last August and this past January. The Commission for Complaints for Telecom TV Services says the mid-year tally works out to about a 61% increase in the number of complaints compared to the year before. Your issues with wireless service made up 56% of all complaints submitted, and billing issues remain the top concern. And Secretary of War in the U.S., Pete Hegseth, is on Capitol Hill this morning to testify before the House. The state of the war in Iran will likely be in the spotlight. Hegseth will be joined by Joint Chiefs Chair General Daniel Kaine at the hearing of the House Armed Services Committee. Arguments over President Trump's plan to scale back legal protections of non-citizens will be heard in the U.S. today. The Temporary Protected Status Program was started in 1990 to allow foreigners into the U.S. who can't safely return to their own countries due to war, natural disaster, or extreme circumstances. Currently, 17 nations are on that list. That's your news to 8:17.
Congratulations again to Dan for correctly identifying Kitty Foreman as today's famous mom. And this texter at 71010 says, by the way, that 70s show had a spinoff that came out in the year 2023 called That 90s Show. Oh. So they did do that.
There you go.
That's funny.
You had a good idea, but it was too late.
Well, thank you for the text at 71010 and get ready to play again tomorrow. Can you identify tomorrow's famous mom? We'll do it then. Right now, we're going to talk about, you know the Google Street View experience?
Oh, yes,
where you can go
it.
to a Google map, you drop the little yellow man down on a road, and then you're just kind of down at street level looking around at the road.
Very cool.
They are planning to do that kind of idea for some of the CRD walking and hiking trails.
Good idea.
Which is kind of a neat thing, because sometimes you might be wondering what you're getting yourself into if you're going out on these things.
Yeah, when we talk about the Wanafuka trails starting again, I'd like to know what I'm getting into.
Yeah. So let's talk about this coming up next with the folks at the CRD. That's right after traffic and weather. If you got a crash or accident or some other problem facing the commute, let me know at 71010. C-FAX at 70 traffic and weather. The time in Victoria is 8:20, and we are looking at a fairly typical commute, maybe even a little on the light side from the West Shore into downtown Victoria compared to some Wednesdays. No crashes or accidents. We do have paving work back on Cook Street between Hillside and Bay. It's going to be the same thing all this week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And for the weather right now, we are looking at a day that's starting off with a few clouds overhead, but we will clear up as the day goes on with some sunshine and highs of 18 degrees expected. A little cooler by the water, where we will feature a little breeze off the Wanda Fuca Strait. Looking ahead to tonight, it's going to be clear. Lows to 8. For tomorrow, it's going to be a mix of sun and cloud. A little breezy by the water again, making it feel a bit cooler if you're right off the Wanda Fuca Strait. But otherwise, a high of 20 tomorrow. Highs of 18 on Friday with some clouds. Saturday, Sunday looking like a mix of sun and cloud with temperatures into the low 20s. So warming up a little bit as the days go on. And then into the long range forecast for next week, it is looking still mostly sunny with a few clouds. And we could even continue getting a bit warmer on Monday with a high of 23 in the forecast right now. Checking the conditions currently for temperatures in Colwood, I am seeing a temperature of 10 degrees. In Oak Bay by the water, it's 11.
In the kitchen, in the car, and at the office. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on C-FAX 1070. Take us with you. Listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Well, I haven't been able to connect with our guest, but we will endeavor to get them on the radio at some point soon. But I can tell you real quick that the CRD Regional Parks Department is trying to get this service going that is kind of like Google Street View, but for trails. So far, staff have been out capturing and uploading street views of 14 parking lots and day use areas, as well as 20 kilometers of their park trails in 8 of the regional parks around the capital region. They've selected those parks based on visitation, how many people are going there, and current accessibility and features that they have. And the imagery that they're putting up allows you to kind of preview the parking area. What does that look like? What does a portion of the trail look like? If you're wondering about, say, accessibility, like if I have, maybe you don't have full mobility, but you still want to enjoy some of the trails. What does this trail look like for you? That information is being put up on the website at the CRD. So if you want to find out more, check it out there, and we will endeavor to get them on the radio soon to tell us more about it. But,
of course.
Yeah.
What I really like about that, and something you pointed out, is having a street view, a real-time view of the parking lot, and knowing what may be available for parking and what may not be.
Yeah, is it big? Like, can I find a spot?
Exactly.
I mean, it's not going to be a live shot, but it will at least show you.
But it is really helpful, and where to go, because sometimes the entrances, they're marked, obviously, but if you miss it, then you're driving around wondering where exactly I'm going. Now, if you don't have Google Maps open all the time, and sometimes you don't want to have it open all the time, this is a way to look at it beforehand, plot your course. I like the idea of being able to see where I'm going before I get there, and to be able to sort of, Boy Scout it out and decide, how you want to attack it. I think it's a really good tool to have in your toolbox. For hikers.
Definitely. So heads up, that new feature is coming to the CRD if you want to look for that, if you like to use our local regional trails. Something else to talk about, Lisa. Really cool thing happened last night during the NHL playoffs. We saw one of the games last night, the Bruins of Boston versus the Buffalo Sabres, taking place in Buffalo. And before the game even started, a really interesting moment happened that's kind of been capturing some attention online.
Yes, and it was because a mic failed, of all things. So the singer for their Canadian anthem, which happened to be Cammy Clune, that night, her mic failed. And so the people in the crowd, the fans, picked it up for her.
Oh, Canada, our home and native.
So it gets awkward for her, and they know that, so they help her out.
You see, a true, strong and from far and wide, okay, and on God, glory.
That's so cool. But you know what? The really interesting part of that story is this is a game, an NHL game between Buffalo and Boston.
Right.
Those are two American teams playing, but they're singing the Canadian anthem because apparently in Buffalo, doesn't matter who's playing, doesn't matter if it's a Canadian team or not, they always sing the Canadian anthem.
They're pretty much right on the border. But
Yeah.
still, it's a great show of patriotism for another country and to show that we're still friends, even with all the nonsense that's happening politically. Like I say, administrations come and they go. And, you know, the average Canadian, the average American, I think we still like each other. I don't think anything's changed in that department. And with the Bruins and the Sabres playing, and maybe Canadian hockey players on the team, but certainly two very American teams, tried and true, having a mic fail and having a patriotic moment like that pop up was pretty cool.
Yeah, really neat moment, getting some attention right now for good reason. I think, it just feels nice. Like you said, some tensions between the two countries, but when it comes down to just the people, there's a bunch of Americans. I'm sure there's some Canadians there too. Buffalo is literally on the border.
I think we like each other.
Yeah.
On the base level, forget the politics. Politics aside, I like Americans.
Yeah.
And they're coming in on the cruise ships daily pretty much now. I don't think we have a problem with the average American. It's the administration that we're having a problem with. So I think sometimes these kind of events separate it and make it very distinct as to what's important and where we're at. I do hope that Cammie Clune gets a remake too, a redo.
Oh, I felt bad for her. That's really tough.
And she sounded amazing, but sometimes the fail turns out to be a big success in the end for a totally different reason.
Yeah, big moment, and I think it's making me feel a little positive right now.
I felt goosebumps.
Yeah, it's a good moment.
Every time I hear it, it's like, okay, this is good. So it is trending on Twitter if you want to check it out. Pretty cool. Boston and the Sabres, and by the way, 2-1 in overtime.
Yeah, Bruins won it.
For the Bruins.
Yeah,
but still so impressive that Americans, by and large, stepped up for Canadians.
We'll talk more about what's happening in sports and weather and traffic and the 8:30 news coming up next on CFAX 1070.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island. Design Victoria is April 30th to May 7th. Full schedule and ticket prices at designvictoria.ca. Sign up and support the Walk for Alzheimer's, Sunday, May 31st at Fisherman's Wharf. More info at walkforalzheimers.ca. Have an event you want featured on CFAX 1070? Text us at 71010 to be featured. Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, 8:30 on this Wednesday, April the 29th. A few clouds out there right now, but we are getting into what should shape up to be a mostly sunny day. Highs of 18 degrees. Right now it's 10. Full forecast to come, but right now the 8:30 news with Lisa Best.
Numbers in focus. The Bank keeping its benchmark interest rate steady at 2.25%. That number came down earlier this morning. The central bank says the decision comes as it waits for more clarity on the war in Iran and the future of U.S. tariffs. Bank of Canada Governor Tim Macklem says the bank's policy interest rate is probably at about the right level if the economy evolves in line with the central bank's projections, but he warns there are significant risks.
If the United States imposes significant new trade restrictions on Canada, we may need to cut the policy rate further to support economic growth. Alternatively, if oil prices continue to increase, and particularly if they remain elevated, the risk that higher energy prices become ongoing inflation increases.
Macklem says that the bank will still be watching developments closely, assessing their implications for growth and inflation. The federal Liberals unveiling billions in new spending to train more skilled workers. The spring economic update that dropped yesterday showed a lower than expected deficit due to surging oil prices, but of course that's a double-edged sword. CTV's Abigail Bimman breaks down some of the numbers.
The deficit for the last fiscal year is $67 billion. The government stressing that's $11.5 billion lower than projected in the budget. High oil prices a big part of the revenue. But after the short-term drop, for the next 5 years, the deficit stays very close to budget projections.
Everyone thought it would be impossible to outspend the reckless Justin Trudeau, but then this new Liberal Prime Minister came along and said, hold my champagne.
Overall, the spring update promises $37.5 billion in net new spending over 6 years. That jumps to $54.5 billion when you include other measures taken since the budget. The biggest line item?
Big measures for apprenticeships, making young Canadians as part of this.
$5.9 billion for what they call a Team Canada Strong program to recruit and train up to 100,000 skilled trades workers.
I think ordinary Canadians who are looking for pocketbook savings will be disappointed.
There is a commitment to lower how much people have to contribute to the Canada Pension Plan, slightly.
The Liberal government had a big opportunity today to actually address the everyday emergency of the crisis of the cost of living for Canadians. It didn't do that.
There is no path to a balanced budget laid out over the next 5 years. Some economists disappointed increased revenues aren't being used to bring the deficit down further. Green Party leader in Saanich and Gulf Islands MP Elizabeth May weighing in on this economic forecast. She thinks she knows why the deficit shrunk.
The efforts by the current government to, for instance, take credit for the fact that we went from a $78 billion deficit projection last fall to $65 billion this year. It isn't, in our view, good, prudent financial management by the Government of Canada that has reduced the deficit, but rather the reality that a November budget left very little time to spend all the money projected to be spent. So the budget now, the spring economic statement reduces what we expected as a deficit to $65 billion.
May pressing the government again on the countrywide electricity grid that was mentioned in the fall budget information. In health news, an unexpected side effect from popular weight loss drugs. They seem to quiet the food noise that people who have trouble losing weight often grapple with.
Many people who are prescribed GLP-1 say the medication quiets the ongoing thoughts and internal dialogues about what to eat, what not to eat, when to eat, and how to resist eating. They weren't expecting it. Neither were researchers. Scientists at Columbia University tell the New York Times that the drugs may temporarily lower a person's set point, the weight that their body naturally gravitates to. But once someone goes off a GLP-1, the set point seems to reset itself, and that can cause weight gain. In New York, I'm Daria Albinger.
And both billionaire Elon Musk and AI executive Sam Altman expect to take the stand in California today. Musk is suing Altman, saying he was tricked into investing into OpenAI as a nonprofit. Musk says Altman intended to turn the company into a for-profit business. OpenAI did that last year and appears to be ready for a big IPO later this year.
Legal experts say that Elon Musk has a pretty big hill to climb here. Let's not forget that it's heavily rumored that OpenAI is going to go public later this year, and all of what is presented at trial here is going to have a big impact on that IPO.
Elon Musk left OpenAI back in 2018. That's your news to 8:35. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question. We're asking, do you conserve water? 53% say yes, year-round. 30% seasonally, and about 19% say they never do. You can vote at CFAX1070.com. Also, the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa, best your news time is 8:36.
Thank you, Lisa, and good morning. Welcome to Wednesday. A nice sunny day after some morning cloud clears up, and we'll hit a high of 18 degrees. Full forecast to come. Right now to CFAX 1070 Sports. Well, we were talking about the NHL playoffs a few moments ago with that nice moment with the Canadian anthem at the Buffalo-Boston game, with Boston eventually winning that game in overtime. Well, what else was happening in the playoffs? We also had the Edmonton Oilers avoid elimination with a 4-1 win over the visiting Anaheim Ducks. The Oilers still trail 3-2 in that first-round series. Edmonton raced to a 3-goal lead in the first period, and then they managed to sit on it and hold it for the most part. Captain Connor McDavid says it bodes well for tomorrow's Game 6 in Anaheim.
It's obviously a nice play with the lead. Not chasing the game is a good thing. Holding them off and closing it out was excellent.
McDavid had 2 assists himself in that home game. Leon Draisaitl scoring twice in the effort. Okay, what else was going on? Well, actually, tonight, let's talk about the Montreal Canadiens facing the Tampa Bay Lightning in Florida in one of 3 NHL playoff games. We've got their best of 7 tied up at 2 games apiece, Montreal, Tampa Bay. Elsewhere, the Philadelphia Flyers host the Pittsburgh Penguins with a chance to clinch, leading 3-2. And the Vegas Golden Knights entertain the Utah Mammoth in the late game with that series tied up at 2 games apiece. In the basketball playoffs, the Toronto Raptors visiting the Cleveland Cavaliers in Game 5 tonight with their NBA playoff series tied at 2 apiece. Scotty Barnes averaging a series best 25.8 points per game and has 4 straight 20-point contests to open the series. Toronto has held Cleveland under 100 points in both of their wins after giving up more than 120 in the first 2. We'll talk about the World Cup of soccer. Rules on red cards have been updated to target players hiding verbal abuse by covering their mouths. Soccer's lawmaking body approved, giving organizers the option to send off players who use that tactic. The changes were agreed on at a special meeting that took place in Vancouver ahead of tomorrow's FIFA Congress and will apply at this year's tournament. That's your CFAX 1070 Sports. It's 8:39. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. By the way, the whole morning show is brought to you by Coastal Heat Pumps. For a comfortable home no matter the season, big savings on your heating bill. Talk to Coastal Heat Pumps. Designed for comfort, the South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. Let's talk about the traffic. Well, there's not much happening. It's fairly clear out there. We do have that paving work again, Cook Street, Bay to Hillside. That is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. all days this week. So watch out for those delays continuing there. For the West Shore commute, I have been thinking it's a little lighter than usual. It's still, congested and busy, but it's taking, say, 40 minutes to get from the Royal Bay neighborhood of Colwood into downtown Victoria, which is better than it can be on a Wednesday. For BC Ferry, Swartz Bay to Swassen, 8 o'clock sailing is gone. The 9 o'clock is next, which still has lots of vehicle deck space left. And in the weather forecast, a few clouds out there this morning, but we will get into a sunny day with highs up to 18 degrees, a bit cooler by the water. Mix of sun and cloud coming at us tomorrow with a high of 20, except cooler by the windy Juan de Fuca Strait. Clouds for Friday, Highs of 18. Mix of sun and cloud on the weekend with temperatures into the low 20s. Right now in Saanich by the University of Victoria, we have hit 12 degrees so far. And the official temperature at the Victoria International Airport is 10. On the markets, S&P TSX in Toronto now down 223 points over yesterday, down to 33,360. The Dow in New York down 271 to 48,870. The barrel of oil has climbed over $5 a barrel compared to yesterday. It's now at $105.47 US a barrel. And the Canadian dollar at 73.1 cents US, which is up just a little bit from yesterday's close. And earlier today, the Bank of Canada held its key policy interest rate at 2.25% for the fourth consecutive time, as it warns of higher inflation for the short term with the price of oil. See what I was just talking about there a few moments ago.
Ryan and Lisa.
Oh, yeah.
Mornings on C-FAX 1070.
Okay.
Remember, you have us in the palm of your hand. For listeners on the go, listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Sometimes you just got to, mention the show.
Sometimes the machine just takes over.
It's okay.
Nothing can be done.
I was just going to say,
Yes.
the Bank of Canada, it's always interesting because they're balancing a couple things, right? There's inflation on one side, and with the oil prices doing what they're doing, there's inflation. But then you've got the state of the economy on the other side. And if the economy is kind of, slowing down, you go one way with interest rates. If the inflation's going up, you go the other way with inflation rates. But you kind of got two things happening. You got inflation maybe starting to hit, but the economy's not doing so well. So what do you do?
So it's hitting your wallet on both sides? Is what you're saying?
And for the interest rate, it's sort of an argument in both directions. So one of the things they kind of mentioned this morning, if you follow such things, is like it could go either way. We stayed the same this time, but what we're going to do in the future is a little unpredictable. And if you got a variable rate mortgage, the stuff matters, because that'll affect your mortgage rate. So
deciding when to lock in is always difficult, especially where it's at right now. If you're variable, you're watching it all the time.
Yeah. And it stayed the same today is the bottom line.
Today.
But in the future...
Like Tip Macklem said, the future is murky.
Yeah.
And when Tip Macklem, the Bank of Canada governor, says the future's murky, we worry.
So we don't know where it's heading, but we'll continue to follow it.
Buckle up.
Another thing we're following is age restrictions for youth on social media and AI chatbots. This has been a big topic for a while, and Manitoba did recently announce plans to go all in
Ontario's
on new
going to.
age restrictions for youth.
Yeah.
BC's Attorney General has even written to the federal minister in charge of such things, asking for stronger regulations and age-appropriate design standards for things like the AI chatbots. Of course, we have been caught in this a little bit with the Tumbler Ridge shooting and the involvement of AI, and the chatbots was a big feature of that story there. So
the fact that we weren't, they weren't warned of it, what was happening. But Ontario's on board too. I mean, it looks like this is going to happen, whether it happens provincially, piecemeal, or whether federally it just comes down as a ruling. I hope. I think our ministers feel the same way, that it happens federally, that they take the reins.
But what even is an effective ban or policy? Can you even really do this? Because kids, they're clever. They find a way around things. So what can governments do, and what should they do? That is the topic coming up as we talk to the CEO and digital literacy instructor behind the group The White Hatter, Brandon Lauer, regular guy we talk to about these kind of things. He's going to join us in a few moments to weigh in on where we might be heading as a country and as a province. That's coming up. But right now, let's get to the headlines. And here is Lisa Best.
Well, speaking of your money, talks between Iran and the U.S. appeared stalled despite claims by the U.S. president that Iran is weakening on its stance. The conflict has driven, of course, global energy costs sharply higher. Pakistan's oil bill surging, and the EU is losing about $600 million on a daily basis. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen warns that rising prices could strain economies and lead to fuel shortages. Meanwhile, Iran's currency hit a record low as economic pressures mount despite a fragile ceasefire. Canadian Jeremy Hansen, our astronaut, and other astronauts from the historic Artemis II mission, all four of them set to meet at the White House today. The White House says Hansen, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Koch, while taking part in the greeting at the Oval Office nearly 3 weeks after splashing down in the Pacific Ocean following a 10-day lunar fly-around. The four-person crew, of course, traveled farther from the surface of the Earth than anyone before them. The Artemis II crew also attempted Donald Trump's State of the Union address back in February. And Casey Musgraves, if you're a fan, she'll be heading back out on the road this year for about 24-date tour. The Grammy-winning country star kicking off her Middle of Nowhere tour August 21st in the Windy City, Chicago. She'll play the dates across North America, including stop in Boston, New York City, and she'll wrap on the West Coast here, Seattle, October 26th and 27th. You can register for pre-sales beginning May 6th. General tickets go on sale 48 hours after that. And that's your headline news to 8:46.
Talk social media, AI chatbots, all the rest of it, and what we should be doing to keep our youth safe on those platforms. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. We've got traffic and weather too. Stand by.
From C-FAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island. Design Victoria is April 30th to May 7th. Full schedule and ticket prices at designvictoria.ca. Sign up and support the Walk for Alzheimer's, Sunday, May 31st at Fisherman's Wharf. More info at walkforalzheimers.ca. Have an event you want featured on C-FAX 1070? Text us at 71010 to be featured.
Get more event info at cfax1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
C-FAX 1070.
The C-FAX Morning Show is brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Fresh, first of the season, BC halibut is now available at your favorite Thrifty Foods. We have, for the morning commute, fairly typical conditions from the West Shore into Victoria, maybe even a little lighter than usual is what I've been seeing on the morning commute. Texter, though, here at 71010 has a good point that Douglas Street continues to be quite slow. South end of Douglas near Belleville always seems to be lane closures and things at that location. I believe it's connected to all the construction going on there. They're building the TELUS Ocean building, for instance, and it's been a big old construction site for a while. But yeah, noted, just continuing slowdowns, Douglas southbound near Belleville. And for the BC ferries, Swartz Bay to Tsawwassen, 9 o'clock sailing coming up with lots of space left for vehicle deck space from Swartz Bay to Tsawwassen. And for the weather, a few clouds overhead, but we will eventually get sunny with a high of 18 degrees, but cooler by the water. Lows of 8 degrees overnight. And then tomorrow, a mix of sun and cloud, highs of about 20 degrees, but cooler by the windy one to Fuca Strait. Friday, clouds over. Saturday and Sunday, mix of sun and cloud. And temperatures do just keep climbing into the weekend with temperatures into the low 20s by Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on C-FAX 1070. Oversleepers, catch all the highlights on the latest audio podcast at cfax1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
We've got on the line right now, he's the CEO of Digital Literacy, or the CEO and Digital Literacy Instructor. I'll get there eventually. Behind the White Hatter, he's Brandon Lord joining us on the line. Sir, how you doing? Oh, sorry, I got to push a button to make you happen there. Hello, sir, how you doing?
Oh, good.
Sorry,
Good morning.
I'm off to a great start here with all of the buttons. Anyways, Brandon, it's great to talk to you. We love talking about online platforms and how they affect our youth. And we've got this in the news a lot because Manitoba, the province, recently announced plans to go all in on new age restrictions for youth who use social media and AI chatbots. I think Australia has been doing this kind of stuff. A lot of jurisdictions are heading this direction. And here in BC, our Attorney General has written to the federal minister in charge saying, yeah, we need stronger regulations and age-appropriate standards as well. I want to just get into this conversation with you and get your sense of how things are going and how this even works. Or, are we heading in the right direction? And is this even something we can do? What are your thoughts on what you're hearing?
Yeah, you bet. The intention's fantastic. I do think it's a bit more complicated than just banning something. I think the internet is far more complex than just banning something. If we're looking at, Australia was the first nation who basically, implementing an age-based ban. We can learn from them and what's worked and what hasn't worked. And I think we've seen it hasn't worked all that well with all sorts of ways and the complexities and teens circumventing and getting around the bans. So good intention. I'm more positive about having better design standards. I think that is a more appropriate road to go down rather than just a straight out ban, in my opinion.
So what do you mean, though? Elaborate on design standards and how that can change things.
Yeah, so most of the conversation, and I think this comes a lot from the court cases in the U.S. where social media companies were found harming a young person because they had designed their platforms to be infinite scrolling. Sometimes we call it doom scrolling, where you just sit in front of your phone and scroll and scroll and scroll nonstop. So people are finding that to be a possible harmful design standard to kind of keep folks glued to their screens. The other way is the attention algorithms, where the content that's being provided to you by social media is so tailored and so interesting to you individually that it just makes you stuck on the app. So looking at design standards of maybe we should just maybe regulate and ban those. And the reason why I think that is, don't those design standards affect everyone?
Yeah, they're not just for youth in that case. That's everybody gets stuck in that.
Exactly. So I don't really see if there's a reason of banning youth from the internet. And again, there's all the issues of what about websites and servers outside of Canada? I mean, right? Is a server in Russia going to care that we have a BC law that says you have to ban kids from your website? They probably won't follow our law, and there's privacy challenges about how do you verify a person's a kid or not, which technically impacts everyone. And then there's like social platforms that may not fall within the definition of what social media is. Games are usually excluded, and I think there's a lot of conversation that a lot of harms occur to kids from online games. So communication platforms are usually exempt if we're looking at what Australia does. So there's a lot of complexities to this.
Okay, so you talk about those design standards and those algorithms that are meant to make us just doom scroll forever. I understand that as a concept, but like that. There's a reason for that. These social media platforms, they know what they're doing. They want you engaged. They want the engagement. They want the advertising revenue that comes from your eyeballs looking at their platforms and advertisers that have paid to be there as well. They know what they're doing. So why would they change? Especially if you're like the BC government or even the Canadian government, why would these international companies want to change what is successful for them just because you're saying so as Canada?
Yeah, any group is going to be operating in terms of its best interests, be it if you're for-profit, non-profit, whatever. But I think there is a potential middle ground we could reach. And algorithms do have a purpose, given the vast amount of content on the internet in terms of our productivity and how much time you want to invest. I mean, would you rather have to search every single thing you want to find, or do you want to take a shortcut and get information sent to you, tailored to you automatically? In the world of AI as well, I mean, there's a reason why people use AI, because it's all about productivity. So there is some benefits for the average consumer consumer to have algorithms, but maybe there needs to be more prompts, maybe more custom algorithms. I do know some social networks are allowing their users to kind of tailor their algorithm to add more content or reduce certain content. So I think there's more of a negotiation to be had and where that middle ground is. But again, a straight out ban for a young person, I'm not too convinced by, and I'm sure there will be legal challenges, as there has been in Australia. There's 2 teams in Australia who's basically going, hey, government, we have rights. You can't take that freedom of expression away from us. So I would be sure to see something similar in Canada as well. Now, very complex.
Now, what do you know about the Manitoba one? Was that an all-out ban, or how did they do it?
From my understanding, based on what they have announced, is basically they're looking at a age limit of if you're under the age of 16, basically you cannot be using platforms they deem as social media. What that means and what platforms are included, basically, if you're looking at places like Australia, they have a regulator, so they have a bureaucratic body that basically is the arbiter. So I guess Alberta would need, or Manitoba would have to build another government department, maybe. I think what BC has done with our AG and basically saying, hey, preferably this should be a federal case because that will make things way simpler than each province having its own individual law. Because what if in BC we say under 15? So what, a 15-year-old travels to Manitoba, are they included or not? It would be easier if it's more of a federal regulator type situation.
Things to think about it, but we got to leave it there because we're out of time. But Brandon Lohr, he's CEO and digital literacy instructor behind The White Hatter. Thanks so much for weighing in on this, as always, as we try to struggle with this issue as Canadians. So much appreciated.
Anytime.